There's a line often attributed to Carl Jung that quietly rearranges your entire life once you really hear it. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Now hold that thought, because I want to take you somewhere most people refuse to look. When you see someone with tattoos, the easy story is aesthetic, style, identity, trend, rebellion, art. And yes, sometimes it's exactly that. But sometimes, tattoos are something else. Sometimes they're not decoration, they're translation, a private language spoken through symbol, a message the mouth couldn't say. Written where the world can't ignore it. And once you start noticing that possibility, once you start listening for what the ink might be doing psychologically, you can't unsee it. Not because tattoos are bad, not because tattooed people are broken, but because the human psyche is never random, and it rarely expresses itself politely. The hidden layer, why symbols choose us. Here's the first truth. Most people think they choose their symbols, but the deeper truth is, symbols often choose them. Not consciously, not deliberately, but through the pressure of emotion, especially during turning points. Grief, breakups, identity shifts, betrayal, major transitions. That's when the unconscious gets louder. And the unconscious doesn't speak in spreadsheets. It speaks in images, dreams, fantasies, obsessions, and sometimes permanent marks. Jung called the buried part of the self the shadow. Not evil, not monstrous, just everything you learn to hide in order to survive. Your anger, your need, your grief, your hunger for control, your fear of being powerless again. And the shadow doesn't disappear because you ignore it. It waits. And if you never integrate it, if you never bring it into awareness, it will find a way to leak out. Through your relationships, your patterns, your addictions, your choices, and sometimes through symbol. So when someone inscribes a symbol into their skin, it can be art, it can be memory, it can be celebration. But it can also be a psychological act of containment, a way of saying, I can't hold this inside anymore, so I'll carry it outside. The strange question. Why that spot? Think about this for a second. Some of the most elaborate tattoos are placed where the person can barely see them. The back, the spine, the shoulder blade. Why mark the place you'll never fully look at without a mirror? Maybe, for some people, the tattoo isn't meant to be seen by them. Maybe it's meant to be felt. Or maybe it's meant to be seen by everyone else, as a kind of social signal. Don't underestimate me. Don't cross this boundary. There's more under the surface than you think. And sometimes, deeper still, it's a form of reclamation. If the body once felt like a place where things happened to you, the tattoo can become a ritual of choice. This is my body. I decide what happens here. I decide what it means. That's not vanity. That's agency. And agency is often what trauma steals first. The trap. When identity pretends to be healing. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, but important. People often confuse identity with integration. They think, if I look strong, I am strong. If I wear transformation, I have transformed. But Jung warned about this in a different way, through the concept of persona. The persona is the social mask, the version of you that's acceptable, legible, survivable. And many people spend their whole lives trapped in one persona, the good one, the calm one, the pleasing one, the "I'm fine" one. So when someone radically changes their appearance, sometimes through tattoos, they may be doing something psychologically real. They're shedding an old mask. They're rejecting an imposed role. But here's the paradox. If you replace one mask with another, you might not be free. You might just be wearing a different costume, one that feels more powerful, more defended, more untouchable. And that can look like confidence, but sometimes it's armor. Not "look at my art," but "don't look too closely." Because if you look too closely, you might see the wound that created the need for armor. The symbol menu of the unconscious. Now let's talk about the symbols people gravitate toward. Serpents, skulls, swords, wings, eyes, broken clocks, chains, roses with thorns. These aren't random choices, they're archetypal. They show up across cultures because they match recurring human conflicts. The serpent, transformation, danger, forbidden knowledge. The sword, defense, power, the right to protect oneself. The eye, vigilance, being watched, refusal to be deceived again. Wings, escape, transcendence, a promise of more than this. Chains, attachment, captivity, loyalty, pain that won't release. A broken clock, time that split, a moment that never ended. And here's the crucial point. A symbol doesn't just represent what happened, it often represents what the psyche is still trying to solve. A tattoo can be a memorial, but it can also be a question carved into skin. Not, "Look what I survived," but "How do I stop reliving it?" Some people describe tattoos like a ritual. They'll say things like, "It helps me cope. It grounds me. It makes me feel in control. It's like closing a chapter." And sometimes it truly is closure. But sometimes it becomes a loop, a cycle where emotional pain rises and the psyche reaches for a physical act that creates immediate meaning. Because meaning is soothing. Meaning is control. Meaning is a way of saying, this wasn't pointless. This wasn't chaos. This had a shape. But if the deeper work never happens, if grief is never processed, if the nervous system never calms, if the inner story never changes, then the ink can become a form of externalization. Instead of integrating pain inward, the psyche projects it outward. And the danger of projection is this: it feels like progress, but it can also be avoidance with better lighting. The missing question: what part of me needed this? The most revealing moment isn't when someone gets a tattoo, it's when you ask them why. Not in a judgmental way, in a genuinely curious way. And you see the pause, a search for a reason that sounds clean. It looked cool. It represents strength. It means freedom. And maybe that's true. But sometimes, if you listen carefully, you can hear what's underneath. Not what the tattoo shows, but what it covers. Not the story they're telling, but the story they're trying not to feel. Because human beings are rarely fully aware of why they do what they do. We call it choice, but often it's an unconscious need dressed up as logic. And this is where Jung's idea of individuation matters. Individuation is not about appearing evolved. It's not about collecting symbols of transformation. It's about becoming whole. It's about turning toward the parts of you that you avoided. It's about asking, why did this symbol feel necessary? What emotion was I trying to stabilize? What identity was I trying to build? What pain was I trying to contain? Because without that question, a tattoo can become emotional camouflage. Beautiful, yes, but heavy. Because symbols carry weight. And if you carry symbols without integrating what they represent, they don't always liberate you. Sometimes they anchor you to the version of you that was created in the storm. The honest truth. Tattoos can be healing or hiding. So let me say this clearly. Tattoos can be art. Tattoos can be sacred. Tattoos can be healing. They can be a line in the sand. I survived, and I'm still here. But the line between expression and suppression is thin, and the unconscious is clever. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It whispers through dreams, habits, attraction patterns, and symbols. And if you never listen, if you never ask what the ink is trying to say, the unconscious doesn't stay quiet. It escalates, not to punish you, but to be seen. So here's the question I'll leave you with. When you see ink on someone's skin, especially complex archetypal symbols, don't rush to stereotype. Don't romanticize either. Just wonder, what story is being told here? And more importantly, who is writing it? The conscious self or the unconscious wound? Because the goal isn't to look transformed. The goal is to actually transform. Not to brand pain as empowerment, but to integrate pain into wisdom. And if that line from Jung is true, then the moment you finally ask what the ink means inside you might be the moment fate stops driving and you start becoming the author again. Before you go, if this changed how you see the psychology behind tattoos, keep watching my videos, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read them. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them.